behind the idea is that we can promote the ideas of A.S. Neil, that we can offer to today's education this historic fact that Summerhill works and that these ideas work. I mean, we've tried them and tested them for 80 years, so it's no longer the new experiment. This is actually the model school that shows how it works.
It's a killing James. They want to admit to killing the creature. So you must be angry then.
Imagine a school where kids have freedom to be themselves. Success is not defined by academic achievement, and you can play all day if you want to. Could there be such a school? My father, A.S. Neil, created Summerhill in 1921. It's possibly the most famous school in the world. I just don't know whether he would have projected this far ahead. You know, he liked to think it would survive, but he never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that it would have the impact that it's having. He was a bit of an old pessimist, really, my dad, and he would talk about, you know, when I'm dead and gone, Summerhill will be closed, and someone will someday say, oh yeah, there was this good chap called Mr. Meal who had a school called Somerville or something like that. My dad was an intellectual. He enjoyed the company of great free thinkers like Wilhelm Reich, Erich Fromm, Henry Miller and Bertrand Russell. But he was never happier than when he was at home digging the garden and mending bed springs at Summerhill.
I still believe it in the state school. It's all wrong. It's all fear and discipline and the mere fact that kids who should be moving all the time are sitting on their asses about 6 hours a day. It's all against human nature, it's all against child nature.
There's no doubt that the beginning of his remarkable approach to education grew from the stark experiences he had as a student and teacher at this stern little school in Kingsmere, Scotland. Summerhill is about as far away from that as you could get.
It's such a basic wrong that was being done, and he saw it, and I'm amazed that no one else did this, you know, did the same thing, because it was there staring everyone in the face, and he did it. Neil's radical philosophy became famous through a series of international bestsellers, and still continues to inspire generations of teachers, parents and children. The Times educational supplement rated my father as one of the 12 most influential educators of the last millennium.
This is the only school in the world where people cry at end of term and beginning of term. People beg their parents to be allowed to come a week early. You know, I don't know of many schools where, for example, I mean, 2 years ago now in the summer there was a conference here, the IDEC conference, sort of on free schooling and democratic education, and I'm begging my mum to be able to come to the conference, partly because I was interested, and partly also because I could be here for a bit of extra time in the holiday, you know, and it was great because some of the other kids came as well. We took part, and we took part in talks and discussions and things like that, and told other people about the school. But also, I was able to come back and sort of see my second home, sort of thing.
Morning.
Hi there.
Are you tired? Asleep.
Hiya. Hello. Nice to see you.
My dad was not just a philosopher. He set out to build a school based on children's rights. It's continued for over 80 years and is still thriving, even without him.
120 chairs, yeah. And then there's 120 times 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good.
Mm-hmm.
So you've added those two together. What about these guys?
Oh, yeah. 600.
I think it's easier to be a good teacher here than it is in a state school. I think, but it's easy. To be a good teacher here, you can be yourself.
which I don't think you can be in a state school. In a state school you've got to wear a mask of authority and you've got to control, and here you don't have any of that. So here, here you can just be yourself, relax, and be a good teacher at the same time, which makes it a lot easier.
We advertise for our teachers, and we get a mixture. We get people who are disillusioned with mainstream, and we get people who have come straight from college who don't want to go into mainstream. They've done their training and they don't actually want to go into a system where they are fundamentally policemen.
So you must be angry then.
The class sizes here are fairly small. I mean, about 7 or 8 in class 2 where I teach. And in that kind of size, I mean, you get to know all the children. You know, every aspect of the child you'll get to know.
In parts of London, it is rumoured that some bishops have opinions that are too old. Where is that? The patrons are dissatisfied with the bishop's sermons. Where? In here it says... paper. She blew in the paper.
So
she has been mesmerised by his supporting his upstarts.
I'd left mainstream education because of what was happening with national curriculum, and the fact that what good there was in the mainstream was being destroyed by the emphasis on academic and exams, basically.
I used to give you support of money, but now I can't give you, so I might give you yours because you didn't get you. Well, I used to support. I'm an expert.
Learning doesn't just take place in the classroom. In fact, a lot of the important things are learned elsewhere and without a teacher.
Of course, all kids want to just go outside, play football, do anything like that. But when you think, hang on, what am I missing? And you're missing things like reading, and you're missing things like painting, and there are lots of other skills that are, that are fun to do and not just necessary. Like reading and writing is fun. It's not just, you sit in a classroom and do that all day, which is what it is in a state school,
Children need space to pursue a passion and to create their own imaginary worlds through books, games or dreams. Pupils free from compulsion are able to make choices about lessons, maintain their interest and motivation, and go on to become lifelong learners. Most people think that Summerhill is a place where children can do as they like. In reality, we have over 150 rules. They're made by all of us, which means that we can make changes when we want to. Everyone in the school, adult or child, has an equal vote and is accountable to the whole community. You can raise any issue you want at school meetings. Pupils and teachers have equal status, and we all call each other by our first names. The adults, as well as the children, can have cases brought against them. The meetings deal with everyday issues, as well as occasional moments of unhappiness or anger.
Causes a lot of disruption.
Yeah.
Perhaps boardrooms, parliaments and the UN could learn something from these meetings at the oldest children's democracy in the world. Visitors from all over the globe comment on its ability to resolve issues and make decisions, and are moved by its clarity, depth and compassion.
I think that I haven't discussed it with the other health and safety people on the list, but I think we probably will be doing what we normally do and going around on Thursday or Friday. But meanwhile, everybody else needs to remember that their rooms should be at least in a presentable state.
Well, yeah, the woodwork's missing its bolt proppers.
You know those big things like that you use for cutting padlocks, and someone borrowed them, and I can't remember who it was. They're very expensive, and it also means that you've got some Wally that can get into people's boxes, and it's really serious. So if people can keep your eye out, and if I find out that someone's actually nicked them, there is going to be big trouble.
I'm going to go to Ipswich on Saturday. Obviously I have 4 spaces in my car if anybody wants to go to Ipswich, and possibly do a studio visits on Sunday for the open studios, the artists' open studios.
Living in a democratic community encourages children to express their feelings and be sensitive to the feelings of others. If things break down, there are ombudsmen who will help you sort out problems or bring them to the meeting.
Sunday morning, at like 5 o'clock in the morning or something, Martin was like just finished doing his washing. There was no more washing getting done, and so I just did my washing. And Johnny's clothes was mixed in with my washing. And then I went back the following morning to put it in the dryer, but it had all been chucked in the corner, so I just and mixed up with other people's clothes and stuff. So I just pulled it all out and put it back in my washing basket and left my washing basket there. And then somebody said that like Johnny took our washing and put it in the dryer while Maya was using it or something. And then Maya got really angry about that and took my washing and Johnny's up to her room and kept it there. And then I went there this morning to ask for her washing back, and to ask for my washing back, and she just totally flipped, and she's saying that she's not going to give it back, and she's not giving Johnny's clothes back, and she's going to keep it until Johnny next comes down so she can give him a load of bollocking and stuff like this.
Maya?
Well, Beth, I gave you your clothes, and I didn't say I was not going to give you your clothes, which you just said. Bit of a lie. And totally flipped. I mean, you were running around the top corridor screaming, bitch, bitch, bitch.
There has been a lot of instances like this in the past, and I do agree with Yuri to a certain extent. But everyone has to do their washing, and it is a really stressful thing to do, especially for the house parents.
Yeah.
But it is also a stressful thing for us, because people don't realise, I'm talking about the carriage kids here, that there are so many carriage kids, and there's 2 days, and people seem to think that's a long time, but there's not, because some carriage kids do 4 loads of washing. So we have to find time in between when we can do our own, and I've seen that Beth has done that. She's done it at 5 o'clock on Sunday morning, and I can't see a better time to do that. What you've got to do is you've got to go away, bring an ombudsman into it, and then the ombudsman can investigate whose clothes they are, instead of actually nicking them.
Ombudsmen, there's 5 of them, and they rotate every 5 weeks, and there are 3 permanent ombudsmen, which is me, Nathan and James, and we're just there, so we're people who can always go to. If you're not quite sure who's ombudsman, you can always go to us. But anyone can act as an ombudsman if you're over 12. So, I mean, it's just anyone can help you sort out your problem.
Generally, an ombudsman is someone that settles disputes outside of the meeting. You know, if somebody's stood on someone's foot by accident, it's not, always best to bring it up and get a case about it, because it can be solved outside. A lot of the times, most things can be solved by an ombudsman. Even if it's somebody who's hit somebody or bullying, you can usually solve it with an ombudsman. But sometimes cases do have to go to the meeting.
Summerhill doesn't consider its fines as punishments. They're more about justice. They're expressions of dissatisfaction over particular actions and a deterrent for the future. The discussion is as important as the fine. You really listen when your friends tell you that you're out of line.
Okay, there are 2 proposals against each other, one that they can't swim after the meeting and one that they are banned from skating all of tomorrow. All in favour they can't swim after the meeting. All in favour they're banned from skating tomorrow. It's carried, they can't go swimming after the meeting. Sorry, all against all. They can't swim after the meeting. Business closed.
Summerhill doesn't aim to produce specific types of young people with specific assessed skills or knowledge, but to provide an environment in which children can define who they are and what they want to be. Neil once said, "I hold that the aim of life is to find happiness, which means to find interest. Education should be a preparation for life." Summerhill graffiti wall is the only place you can write on walls. If you write anywhere else, you can get fined as well as having to clean it off. There is no censorship about what you write unless it offends or upsets somebody else. Freedom without license is one of Summerhill's founding principles. Other signs, of course, reflect a more serious side of school life. Exams. Most pupils choose to take them. So after such an idyllic childhood, how well prepared for life are Summerhill pupils? Many have gone into the arts. And many Summerhillians also shine in the sciences. In fact, over the generations, Summerhill's produced people in just about every kind of occupation. Most pupils board at the school, and this is fiercely defended by the children who regard it as a central part of their lives. Being away from parents is a chance to grow into the person you want to be without constant reference to parental expectations. It's an enrichment of family life, something extra that you can't get at home.
We're not like a school, it feels almost like a family because we all live together and we all help each other out.
We've established the A.S. Neil Summerhill Trust to provide bursaries so that children from all backgrounds can have the opportunity of experiencing Summerhill and to fund the sharing of its unique knowledge and experiences with others around the world.
Have that pole in.
I think what's interesting about the education system is that over the last 80 years that Summerhill's been here, the education system has become very, at one point it's been very free and easy, another point there's been really strict discipline, there's been all sorts of different educational theories coming and going, and Summerhill's about the only school that's actually stayed the same for 80 years, which is proof that it was way ahead of its time.
In 2000, Summerhill clashed with government school inspectors, and as a result the Department of Education issued a complaint against us. They said we were failing the children and made demands that would change the whole philosophy of the school. After a successful legal fight at London's High Court, Summerhillians celebrated their victory. In an agreement, we won the right for different inspection criteria because Summerhill's such a unique school. But it was really a victory for all British schools. It showed that diversity in education is acceptable and that children can make a valuable contribution to the inspection process. Geoffrey Robertson QC, world-renowned human rights barrister and judge, in his defence speech of Summerhill at the Royal Courts of Justice, summed it up. Neil's system has had a profound effect on human rights law as it affects children. It pioneered the idea, which is fundamental to Summerhill, that children have rights, that they're not owned by parents or teachers, that it's a crime to assault them physically, and a serious mistake to force them to act against their will, except out of consideration for others. These tenets were seen as absolutely revolutionary in the 1920s. They were described as anarchic. They are now to be found in the 1989 Convention on the Rights of the Child, ratified by 189 nations.